What's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another meta breakdown. Today we're talking about some of the events that happened over the weekend. So if you want to know how the meta is kind of wrapping up in set 11 / draft box 6 format, definitely stay tuned. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about some of the implications going into set 12 now that we have some of the spoilers. We don't have the full set 12 spoilers, so we don't have like the full picture yet, right? But we are going to talk about what we know now and how that could impact the future of this format and the future of the format going into set 12. So with that being said, guys, if you are new here, definitely subscribe, hit that bell so you miss a video. If you want to help the channel out, if you want to start competing at some of these events, go down to the Patreon, get yourself informed with the competitive content. It will have you looking at the game in a different way, help your game out. That being said, let's get started. So firstly, minor problem with doing this video, right? And it's the reason that this is actually out on Tuesday instead of Monday. You see here we have the PPG Gamerz event, we have top 8 for that, we have the Cardmarket EU event, the top 4 for that. I wasn't able to get the information for the December finals championship event, which really unfortunate, guys. I'm so sorry about it, because depending who you ask, those were the biggest events of the weekend, and I really wanted to talk about them. But for some reason, unbeknownst to me, like finding the info for those events was like pulling teeth out. I just couldn't do it. Like it was abnormally difficult. I don't understand. Like the sources I reached out to just couldn't get the information to me, and I didn't want to wait through this video any longer for a few reasons. One of which, you know, I usually do these on Monday, so I wanted to put this out on as early as possible. Then, you know, today being Tuesday, obviously, I didn't really want to wait till Wednesday, Thursday. And the other thing is, I have set 12 content and other content that I want to get to, so I don't really want to stall this video. I'm going to basically just go off what I have. What I do know is for the American December finals, the top 2 decks, which actually we had the second place deck on the channel from yesterday. First place was Cell Surge Aggro featuring the Frieza Xeno engine, which is always a really cool deck to see. It's super innovative, and it's always just a fun thing to see that deck do so well, especially considering like the leader was just not at all intended to do that in that type of deck, which is so cool. And second place was Blue Vegito, right? So I do have the Blue Vegito profile on the channel from yesterday if you want to check that out, if that's a deck that interests you. But that's really all the info I have from that event. I don't have the Oceania stuff. I'm really sorry about that, guys, but it was out of my control. So with that being said, we're mostly going to cover the PPG Gamerz top 8 and the Cardmarket EU top 4. So let's start breaking it down. So both these events were won by Vegex. We'll talk about that after we just, you know, finish breaking down the top cuts here, but just want to get that out of the way there. So in PPG Gamerz top 8, 3 Vegex, 1 Green Gotenks, 1 Clash of Fates Goku, 1 Invoker, which we haven't seen in a while, 1 Bulma, and 1 Red Broly. Cardmarket EU top 4, first place Vegex, second place Blue Baby, third place Reboot Gohan, and fourth place Reboot Gohan as well. So with that being listed out of the way there, let's start talking about it. Vegex, man. Another week. I think this is what, the 4th week in a row that we've been covering events here on the channel, and Vegex has won again. It's so crazy to me because yes, the format is diverse. Yes, there are so many good decks you can play. There are 3 different popular aggro decks you can play. We've seen Control do quite well in the form of Invoker, Shenron, and Blue Baby from time to time. And mid-range is good. Mostly mid-range is in the form of Blue, but there is like Green Gotenks for mid-range as well. So like every playstyle is playable, but I think there is a problem in the fact that Vegex has won 4 events back to back. You know, as far as we've been covering here on the channel, not to mention the fact it's had to be nerfed 3 different times. I wouldn't even be surprised if it gets another type of hit coming up on the set 12 ban list, and it won several events in set 10, right? So this is a bit problematic just from a statistical data standpoint. I don't even see Vegex as particularly overpowered, and maybe it is, and I'm just like immune to it at this point. Maybe it just doesn't phase me at this point because Vegex has been around for so long. But I mean, the nerfs I think they did were good, but at what point do you just say, hey, okay guys, this leader a little bit too powerful, mills a few too many cards, it continues to mill on the backside, which generates more value, whereas most like bursting leaders or most drop area centric black leaders, they stop bursting on the awakened side, and it's nice because they don't have to worry about decking out, but Vegex obviously has a built-in protection from decking out, and you can continue to mill in your awakened side, so that obviously provides you more value. Now, one thing I think that is very important to note here, right? So the 2 events we're covering, the biggest event of the weekend, arguably, again, depending on who you ask, the December finals was not won by Vegex. Vegex wasn't even in second place. I don't know how Vegex did in that, you know, top 8 or top 16, depending on how you want to look at it. So I don't have those numbers for you. But what's important to know here is the event that Vegex took 3 spots in the top cut, which is PPG Gamerz. this was an event down in Florida. Now, if you know some stuff about like the competitive Dragon Ball scene, if you follow the Facebook groups and stuff, you kind of know that those guys down there, especially PPG, they're huge on Vegex. So that is definitely a contributing factor as to why Vegex did so well down there, why it won and took so many spots in the top 8. But that's also just a testament to how powerful the deck is, because on PPG you have some of the best players in the game at the moment. So it's no surprise that they're going to play Vegex when they perceive it as the best deck, and Vegex has been putting up the stats. So even though you can say the results are a little bit skewed because it's just an area that, you know, favors Vegex very heavily, there's a reason why they picked the deck, right? And then same thing going over the Cardmarket EU event. This top 4 is actually very, very similar to the top 4 we did a few weeks ago with the Cardmarket event. I think first and second place were the same exact results. I think it was first place Vegex and second place Blue Baby. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So yeah, you have like these kind of recurring themes here, and yeah, Vegex is still doing well. And actually, what's funny too is that the same player for the Cardmarket event was piloting Vegex first place both times. You know, congratulations to him. But anyways, those reasons, while they are kind of closed data pools, if you're looking at this from like more of a statistical standpoint, there's still reasons why those players pick these decks, right? It is obscenely powerful. It does a lot of stuff for free. What's gonna happen in set 12? I don't know, because this deck is getting more support, you know, albeit indirectly, but all this Gohang stuff and even some of the Gogeta Xeno stuff, they all revolve around black sand leaders, which of course Vegex is a black sand leader. So this leader is getting more indirect support. The deck building thing for Vegex can quite possibly change. I haven't quite tested it myself yet, the Gohang stuff in Vegex, but I'm told it's quite good. So that being the case, just this indirect support, it's going to Vegex, whether they intended for it to or not. I'm pretty sure they actually did intend it to do that, because, you know, they mentioned that the 3 structure decks we got at the beginning of set 10, they were going to get support all throughout the Unison Warrior block, right? So it probably was intentional, but with this being the case, it's a little bit concerning, because the deck's already obscenely powerful and it's just getting more support. So what are they going to do on set 12 ban list? I don't know. I think at this point you have to errata or ban the leader. I understand not wanting to ban the leader because, you know, it's in a structure deck. You don't want to make that structure deck unplayable, right? But, you know, it is what it is, I guess. Let's move on. We talked about Vegex for quite a long time there. Anyways, we have Reboot Gohan here doing quite well this weekend as well. Reboot Gohan's another deck that people definitely want something to be done with. The main card I think people look at with this deck is Feet Kamehameha, and that's the most logical hit to me for the sub 12 ban list, because I don't want Reboot Gohan to be unplayable. It's a pretty cool deck in the sense that it's leader-based aggression. There's not too many decks that do this type of thing. There are answers to it, which I'm very, very happy about. But Feet is one of those cards that makes the deck feel unfair. And the reason I say that is because there are plenty of cards that let you combo up to really high numbers. Like, you can easily just play Cell's Earth Destroying Kamehameha, get to a plus 15k with your leader's backside, you know, basically a 40k triple strike. Who can combo out of that effectively, right? The problem with Feet is that you're getting up to that huge number, possibly higher with super combos and other 1-for-10s, things like that. And you're not getting any of those cards out of that big damage. If you're being forced to take big damage, you probably shouldn't be able to circumvent the game's inherent mechanic of giving you life off that big damage, right? You should probably be able to draw those lives and not have them all crit. So Feet probably has to be the card to go, in my opinion. But in the comments below, let me know what you guys think about that. I'm definitely curious. Next up, guys, Control did very well this weekend, which was nice. You know, we've been seeing Control kind of dip in and out, although, you know, Sin Shenron has been performing quite consistently. Blue Baby and Invoker, these are two decks that we miss from time to time, and Blue Baby, I think, is a victim of its promo. You know, it doesn't see a ton of play because Revenge Big Bang Attack is a rather expensive promo. Not everyone has a locals to go to, so not everyone has access to the card, which is unfortunate. So I think that's kind of like an excuse for Blue Baby, although the deck does, you know, prove to do well when players have the cards. Invoker, it's tough to play Invoker because of this, you know, crazy heavy aggro format. Like, the best thing they can do defensively to some of these aggro decks is Topo. You know, hopefully they have some of their negates, but they have to get that Vegeta Invoker on board turn 3. And if you go second against a lot of these aggro decks like Red Broly and things like that and Vegex, you're going to have a really tough time getting that turn 3 while not having awakened yet, right? Because if you play Vegeta on 3 and you haven't awakened yet, you have to somehow get some energy back up. So that could be like a Beerus super combo, or it could be like a Sparking Dimension Magic, but you do not want a Sparking Dimension Magic against an aggro deck, right? So you get put into a lot of weird spots oftentimes as Invoker. You know, aggro is definitely most heavily favored this format. There's no doubt about it. But again, it is nice. Everything else is playable. You can still play a control deck like this and still do quite well. Next up for our newbies here, or I guess our not so common top decks here, but decks that do top every once in a while. Clash Goku, I wasn't able to see the Clash Goku list per se, so I don't know exactly what was in this player's main deck, but it just goes to show you that mono green good stuff is still good, especially in the face of two popular green archetypes, one being Gotenks and one being Majin Vegeta. I do like the fact that mono green good stuff is still viable. It's just like in the same vein that, you know, the baby archetype is good, but mono blue good stuff is still viable, right? So that definitely feels pretty solid there. And then Bulma here is one that does also top from time to time. I actually think Bulma got some of the best support in Draft Box 6. I'm actually going to post some gameplay this week, and if you guys want to see the profile, let me know in that video if you want to see it. But this Bulma list was interesting because I think there's so many different ways to build Bulma right now, and this list played a little bit of everything. They actually played Nappa Super Combo to, you know, bring that into play and use that as a blocker, but they also played the Gogeta Arrival, which only costs 1 red, so it's kind of like the same vein as playing Mono Blue but playing Goku Hit, where your Super Combo gets you the Arrival and it only costs a red, so you don't have to play red green. This was a mono red list, by the way. It played a small spikes and bandages package, not very big. The deck wasn't focused around that, but the list was called Vegito Control, and the only Vegito card in the deck was Unison of Might. So I'm assuming the main goal here was to play Unison of Might, which and abuse its -2 until the end of your opponent's next turn. If your opponent would play a battle card using a skill, it's placed in their drop area instead. So that is a super powerful effect. There are a ton of decks now that play cards via skills. So to say to your opponent for an entire turn, you can't do that, they're going to be in a bit of trouble. But the thing about this is, this Bulma deck was not playing the new Shenron Unison out of the expansion sets, which I'm assuming were legal for this tournament because they've been out for about a week or two now. So that Shenron Unison basically has a minus effect that says pay 3 energy, put this Vegito into play with markers on it, so you can get that into play a little bit earlier. It didn't play that, so I was a little bit confused on that, but maybe it doesn't give it enough markers, because I think when the Shenron Unison does that, it only grants 2 markers. So maybe, you know, this player didn't want to use Vegito and have it instantly die. That does make sense to me for sure. But this deck did play Jiren Unison, which is super broken on his own. So like, how do you parse the line of, you know, playing Jiren Unison and swapping out for Vegito? Maybe it's matchup dependent, I'm not sure. But anyways, I think Bulma's incredible right now. Again, I'll post some gameplay later this week if you guys want to check it out. And then just for our reoccurring guys here, you know, the guys we see all the time, nothing too crazy here. 1 Gotenks, 1 Red Broly. Again, Red Broly, I think, sees a little bit less representation because of that promo, which is fine. But Green Gotenks, I think we'll just see it every tournament. It's just a super consistent deck. It does powerful stuff. There are actually some players that call it the best deck, which I don't necessarily agree with, and I think the stats kind of back that up. But super solid deck. Just that it doesn't really do too much that you're not expecting. And as time goes on, players learn how to play around the Grim Reaper onslaught, right? So with that being said, guys, there's a tournament breakdown. Sorry I couldn't get the December final stuff, but it was kind of out of my control. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.